Businesses will face tighter restrictions this week due to COVID. Restaurants, gyms, and offices are all feeling the squeeze.
Just another gut punch upon gut punch.
The governor faces a difficult balancing act. Give businesses a lifeline to keep making money while keeping the rest of us out of harm's way.
Now is that crunch time.
He says it's not complicated.
We really want to keep this simple. There is a risk everywhere in our entire state.
And tonight, Denver7 is taking a 360 look at the way these restrictions might impact every aspect of your life.
We're talking to business owners and workers whose way of life is really threatened right now, as well as hospital leaders who are very worried hospitals may get overwhelmed.
We begin tonight with Jacqueline Allen with the state's perspective. And Jacqueline, many people wanted a stay-at-home order, and the governor did not do that.
He did not. The state created a brand new level on the color dial, effectively so we don't have to shut down. They say it's different than when we had the stay-at-home order back in March because we know more about the virus, how to control it, and let's be honest, we know what a shutdown means for our economy.
This trend cannot continue.
Governor Jared Polis announcing new restrictions to slow the virus, but stop short of a stay-at-home order.
In the here and now, we in Colorado need to act to stop this exponential growth, to save lives and save our economy.
Here's the new color-coded dial. You see, health officials added that extreme risk purple phase today. That's for a shutdown if hospitals are overwhelmed. For now, several counties will be in the new red phase, severe risk, by the end of the week. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock says Denver will be in that group.
Doctors, nurses, and hospital staff are once again carrying us on their shoulders, and we as individuals must step up to lessen the burden on them and everyone else.
So what changes for you if your county is in level red? Starting Friday, the new restrictions include an end to indoor dining. And last call for alcohol moved from 10 p.m. to 8 p.m. Even though many schools are already remote, Polis emphasized the need for in-person elementary school, calling these new restrictions a way to bridge the gap until we get a vaccine.
Really, none of us are going to get through this pandemic unscathed.
Governor Polis also announced that he is calling a special session, which will include a small business relief package, housing and rental assistance to avoid an eviction and foreclosure crisis, and support for child care providers, as well as expanding broadband access for students and educators. Ann?
Thank you, Jacqueline. So let's quickly dive into the nitty-gritty of the new red section of the dial. Restrictions will not change for child care facilities. They can stay open. Places of worship can keep operating at 25% capacity. Manufacturing facilities can stay open at 25% capacity. And other offices should drop to 10% capacity. And indoor seating events like concerts and comedy shows, those are canceled in level red.
The governor did not give us a list of the counties shifting to level red, but so far Denver7 has confirmed the following will go red on Friday: Denver, Arapahoe, Jefferson, Mesa, and several other counties, including Boulder and Pueblo, are still deliberating and could make a decision on this later this week. And we told you last night that a significant number of restaurants might be forced to close if restrictions tighten. Well, here we are. Restrictions have tightened, and restaurant owners are already sounding the alarm.
Denver7 Sean Toll continues our 360 reporting tonight, talking to restaurant owners and others who will feel the brunt of these new rules. Sean?
Yeah, and restaurant owners have already borne the brunt of most of the restrictions already, and they're going to again. And obviously, it's going to hurt them, as well as potentially a number of other businesses, as they try to navigate what's ahead.
We had hoped that it would have worked, but it hasn't. And so it's time to take additional measures.
The governor's new red dial gives counties a new option to not go back to stay at home as case numbers rise.
Like many small businesses, COVID has been tough.
And a number of counties have already said they'll enact the new phase Friday.
If there's something in between that could potentially protect Colorado, protect our people of Denver, and protect small business, I think that would be exceptional.
Manager Ryan owns a small business in the Highlands neighborhood of Denver. The new restrictions don't immediately impact her bakery too much, but she hopes it prevents a lockdown again.
If it is absolutely what we have to do to keep Denver safe, I think people would understand that.
And once again, the restaurant industry suffered a major blow as the new phase takes away indoor seating.
Just another gut punch upon gut punch.
Over at Blake Street Tavern, they were prepping for winter restrictions, but the owner says this hurts worse than the first time.
At least we knew there was some relief coming our way, whether it was me as an owner getting PPP money or my staff getting, enhanced unemployment benefits or $1,200 stimulus checks. This time's not around, and so we're not getting relief from the federal government.
Gyms will drop to 10% capacity. Elementary school students still allowed in-person learning. But will it really make a dent?
That's a good question. We hope so.
Medical experts at Health One and UC Health agree earlier restrictions this year help the case count.
Like all laws, right? You actually have to obey them, and sort of some of the principles don't necessarily have to be mandated, and you should still probably follow those rules.
They admit their playbook is better than earlier this year, but don't let fatigue set in.
If you think you're tired, you can just imagine what's going on in the hospitals and the intensive care units who are constantly dealing with this at work and at home as well.
No one wants to see more restrictions, but it's a tough call to try to balance the disease and the economy.
Certainly the hope is that it will make a major impact.
Now, medical experts say it will take a couple weeks before we see if the restrictions actually do help. Now, businesses, especially restaurants, have already had to pivot business due to the pandemic once, and they say they're going to have to again, likely having to furlough employees again, and who knows just how long these restrictions will be in place. Reporting live, Sean Toll, Denver7.
Yeah, it's a tough one to swallow for sure. Thank you, Sean. And we heard from many of you during the governor's press conference earlier today, and Katie writes, I work in a small breakfast restaurant. Thankfully, we have amazing regulars that have made it seem somewhat regular. What are you going to do to help the restaurant owners and workers who are out of a job? Well, those questions are part of the reason the governor called a special session. And listen, we still want to hear what you think about this issue. Email 360@thedenverchannel.com. We also have a sad update for you from TSA at Denver Airport. Agent Edward Faktorovich passed away from COVID yesterday. He spent 2.5 years working with TSA. His last day, in fact, was November 2nd. And in a statement, TSA described him as a kind and respectful person who always had a smile on his face.
And listen to this. 1 million Americans were diagnosed with COVID last week alone. This is according to the COVID Tracking Project, and that is a weekly high. In Utah, ICUs have reached capacity, giving us a look at what could happen in Colorado if things get worse. Nurses now are flying in from New York to Utah to help with this surge.
I think us coming in has really shown the Intermountain nurses, we are here to support you. We have your back just like you had ours.
Recent vaccine trials, certainly a positive sign, but it could be a while before we feel their impact. Dr. Anthony Fauci said today we could see some normalcy, he says, next fall, if at least 75% of Americans get vaccinated.
Tonight, authorities in Aurora confirmed the late October fire at the Galena Apartments was arson. One person died in that fire, and the case is now a homicide investigation. And officials have released surveillance photos. Take a look at this person. This is a person of interest, and officials are now offering a $5,000 reward for information.
It's been a warm one today. Coming up, I'll let you know how many more days in the 70s are ahead.
Plus, the alarming cost of care, why some families ration life-saving medication.
And the frustrating wait to get a COVID test may only be matched by the wait to get COVID test results.
It should be easy if it works. Again, obviously it doesn't work.